Hi, Kaylyn. I'm so glad you are here today. I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we can start talking about your breastfeeding transformation.
I'm Kaylyn. I live on an island in Alaska, and my husband and I own a business together. And last year we decided to have our first kid, and so that kind of led to where we are today. Our baby girl was born in February of this year, and she's amazing. She's absolutely perfect in every way, and we're in love. Um, our breastfeeding journey, it's been a roller coaster. Just breastfeeding always seems like something that should be so natural and so normal. And I read a couple books while I was pregnant, actually two or three books on breastfeeding specifically, and I was like, yeah, I got this. This is gonna be super easy. No big deal. And she was born C-section, but within minutes of birth, she was already suckling. They put her on my shoulder after they dried her off, and there was like an electrode thing on my shoulder, and she immediately latched on to that road and was just all about it. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be great. She's got that instinct. We're good. And so we get out of the operating room and they latched her right on as soon as we were out of there before they were done cleaning up anything. She was on the breast, and I was like, this is good. We got this. We were only in the hospital for about 48 hours. We were out of there really quick. And it was the day after we left that things kind of started to go not so great anymore. It still looked like she had a good latch, but I was in absolute misery. I had blisters starting, the bleeding started. I mean, they were big, big blisters that were just, it was terrible. And I was like, well, my milk came in right away, so I wasn't dealing with that. When like the day we left the hospital, my milk came in, so I was like, oh, she's getting what she needs, so I can deal with it for now. And it looked like, based off of everything that I'd read, that everything was fine. She had a nice wide latch and took the whole nipple and everything. The pain was unbelievable. And, postpartum, those first couple of weeks, that first month, you're up all night, you're up all day. It's just on top of the pain, that was brutal.
It's a lot. It's like your whole nervous system is just shocked, and you don't know what thing am I supposed to take care of first? The sleep, the feeding, the pain. How do I handle that?
Exactly. And I remember nights in those first couple of weeks, I was just sitting there feeding her, just sobbing because it hurt and I was miserable, and just all of it all at once was a lot. I still wasn't sure what to do. I tried different positions with her. In the hospital, I'd figured out that the football hold was the only one that she could really latch on with. I tried the cross arm. We tried lots of different ones. The football one, she was finally able to latch on and feed. I was like, okay, well, we can do this. And so I continued using that one for a couple of weeks. And by second or third week, the pain was still, the blisters had gone away. I wasn't dealing with the blisters anymore, but there was still intense pain every time she latched on. And then I'd be in pain for hours afterwards. And so even like taking a shower, the hot water or the pressure from the shower, oh my God. I almost wanted to wear a bra in the shower because it hurt so bad. This is terrible. It's not supposed to be like this.
It's not supposed to be like this. And that's probably the most frustrating thing for me is I hear so many people just say like, oh, it'll get better. Just tough it out. It'll get better. And it's like, it's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, it was brutal. So I tried to time my showers where they were the furthest away from a feeding so that everything had time to calm down. It was the least amount of pain, and then it was get in and get out. Don't let the
Yeah.
water touch anything.
Oh my gosh. That's awful. That is terrible. So what did you do? What was your like, all right, something's got to change. I'm going to take action. Kind of what was that moment for you? And then what was that process?
Well, it was really a long process. I continued reading, watching videos. I didn't want to go see somebody locally. It's kind of a small town. I wasn't comfortable seeing somebody on the island because there are a couple lactation consultants here. And so I was trying to just deal with it myself. And it was around 3 weeks that I'm assuming she started a growth spurt, but she was feeding probably every 15 minutes, and she was just falling asleep. She wasn't actually like getting satiated, and so she'd nurse really hard for about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Then she'd fall asleep for about 15 minutes, and then she'd wake up and she'd want to nurse again. And it went on like this for hours. And I finally looked at my husband. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't think she's getting enough. She's clearly starving, but she's so tired. And so he went and got some formula, and we gave her a bottle of formula, and she passed out. And she slept for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. And I was like, okay, let's reset, refigure. And I got the pumps out, and I pumped that night. I think I pumped and then fed and then pumped and then fed, like alternated feedings. And so she was getting a bottle and then she'd nurse, and then she was getting a bottle and then she'd nurse. And we did that for a couple of days, and it seemed to be working. But I still had no supply of milk in the freezer because that wasn't my focus. My focus was just giving it to her, and she was still eating about every 2 hours. And I think the next day I had to give her another bottle of formula. I think because she had two. She had one that night, one the next day, and then I had enough supply to just, with pumping, feed her what she needed. And we went on like that for a couple of weeks, and slowly over those weeks, her nursing became less and the bottles became more, and almost to exclusively pumping, because it was so much less pain for me. Once I started pumping, I was like, oh my God, there's no pain. It drains my boobs. Everything feels better.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so, and she's eating, she's growing now. She still struggled with the bottles. We went through multiple brands of nipples, and none of them could she latch on properly. She clicked with all of them. And she'd dribble milk down the side of her cheek, like lots. She'd throw up. She had horrible burps and gas. Like, I knew she wasn't latching on the bottles either, but I didn't know what else to do. She was eating, she was getting what she needed, and she was growing. And so, that whole mindset of feeding them, as long as they're fed, it's okay.
Right.
And we continue to try. I'd say probably at least once a day we'd try to nurse. And then we got to the point where I would just dread it. I should try to make her nurse so that we don't forget how to do it, but I really don't want to.
I know
And
that
so,
feeling. It's like, that is the worst feeling too. If you're listening and feeling that, like, we see you. It is the worst feeling to feel like, I want to nurse my baby, but I don't
yes,
want them here. Like, you just want us to throw them across the room and start as soon as they start nursing. And that is
yeah,
like, it comes with so much guilt. It's so much more than just a physical pain. Like, there's so much guilt with that.
yeah, it sucks. And it wasn't even just the pain. Like, sometimes I could just grit it out and deal with the pain, but she wasn't getting what she needed either. When we'd nurse, she would flail and scream, and she'd arch away from me and then throw herself back on and then arch away. And it was like this dramatic fiasco, and then she'd pass out.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not like, if this
Yeah.
is what breastfeeding is, then I don't want to do it because it's terrible. So it's kind of a blur how long all this went on, but we tried so many different things, and I continued trying different positions, and we did the pumping, and I had tons of milk. By now, by, I don't know, probably 6 weeks, I had milk in the freezer, I had milk in the fridge, we had milk everywhere. It was lots. It definitely was just full force. There was no lack of it, which was good. One problem we didn't have to deal with.
Right. That is always like, it's always like, is all this extra milk a problem? It's like, it comes with risk, but it's better than the alternative.
Exactly. And I kind of just fell into a rhythm where when she would eat a bottle, I would pump. And so just, I just always kept up with her so that my supply never dwindled. And when I did have enough in the freezer that we were content with it and knew we wouldn't have to give her formula again, then I backed off on the pumping just a little bit so that we still had. So essentially, I was just feeding her with each pump, no extra. And then I ran into the clogged ducts. And so every day, I was just in agony with a clogged duct. And I'd get it to clear on one side, and that night, I'd get another one on the other side. And I'd get it to clear on that side, and I'd get another one on the other side. And it was just back and forth, and they'd last for days. I mean, it would take days to get them to clear. So then I'm worried about mastitis and getting an infection, and I never did, but it was a concern the whole time. And we tried everything to get them to clear up. I tried the dangle feeding, I tried alternating feeding her and pumping, and then power pumping, and then we tried massages, which half the things you read say do a gentle massage, the other half say you got to be really rough and vigorous and massage it out. And I'm like, well, that's incredibly painful. I don't want to do that. And then we tried the hot compress, we tried the cold compress. It's a nightmare. We just kept trying. We tried the Epsom salt soak. Trying to soak your boob in Epsom salts is incredibly difficult. You don't have a deep bathtub. We tried that. That didn't work. This kind of went on, and at some point in all of that, I'm not sure what point it was, but somewhere in there, I was sitting scrolling Instagram, and one of your videos popped up, and you were kind of grimacing and gritting your teeth while the baby was latching, and you were like, and if this is you, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
And
yes.
you're like, just comment. There was some word that we were supposed to comment, and if we wanted to take a free class and learn about pain-free latching. And I was like, I will do anything. I will do anything. I don't know who this person is, but I will do anything. So I commented, and you sent me the link, and I joined that, and I went to your first one and ended up winning like 50% off your latching class.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't care what it costs. I will do it. I will try it. And so I did that and went through your whole class, and I tried the different techniques. I took baths with baby, and we tried the latch while we were both relaxed in the bath. And then I did lots of skin to skin. I'd sleep with her just naked on my chest, so we were both skin to skin to see if that would help. Just trying to connect with her a little bit more instead of controlling and trying to force her into different positions, and to see if that was what she was struggling with. And we tried going to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor wasn't really sure what to look for. She said that really all she does is help if the baby can't turn her head. And so she did check on her shoulders and made sure she could turn her head both ways. And she's like, yeah, that's about all I can do. And I was like, okay. And so we left, and that didn't really help anything because she wasn't having a problem turning her head. And so we continued with that, and I continued trying all the tips and tricks in your class, and I read through everything you had on there, including the tongue-tie stuff.
You did it fast, because I can like see people's progress through it, and I remember being like, this girl is going for it. Like, she is going for it.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, I'm just like, I have no other time, so we're just gonna do it now. I really have to find a solution.
Yeah.
And so we did. I read through everything, including the tongue tie stuff, which I didn't think she had an issue with, but I was like, maybe it is. I'm gonna read it anyway.
It's important to go and check all those boxes though. Like, really check all the bases. And I know obviously like we ended up working together, so you were still struggling after the class, but
yes,
I think it's really important to highlight the things like you started like kind of being able to put some puzzle pieces together. It's like maybe it wasn't the solution, but you started getting those puzzle pieces. We're starting to put them together. And I'd love to know, like, even though obviously like the co-bathing and the co-sleeping isn't what fixed breastfeeding, did it help fix that bond that you felt like you were just fighting with every feed, and now you are able to connect?
Yes, absolutely. I think that was incredibly helpful for both of us. And it helped her sleep better. Even though the feeding was still stressful for her, she would relax and she would try. Like, we would both try to get through it.
Yeah. So then you decided, like, this still, like, all right, I've got the puzzle pieces. There's puzzle pieces. I've got some insights, but it's still just not coming together. And so you booked a consult, and then kind of tell me how things went from there. Because I mean, I know from my perspective, but people want to hear your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did the consult because I still wasn't getting it, and I was just like, I need help. I'm just gonna do a one-on-one and see if you can offer some tips, tricks, something that I'm missing, because it's still not working. So after our consult, you recommended the nipple shields, a specific type of bottle, and then going to the chiropractor again. And it was super interesting that just from watching her video, you were able to tell that she was a cesarean birth. And so we worked on some exercises for her. You'd given us some mouth exercises, tongue exercises for her, and then working on her reflexes. And we did those religiously afterwards. It was like, we're gonna figure this out. And we did all the exercises. She was doing great on her reflexes after just a couple of days. Then the chiropractor, that took a little while to get scheduled. She was out of town. But having you reach out to the chiropractor and explain exactly what, because I didn't know what to ask her to do. Everybody just kept saying, just take her to the chiropractor, he'll fix it. I'm like, well, I did, and she didn't fix it, so I don't know what to ask for now. And so that was super helpful. When I went in again, she's like, I still am not 100% sure what you need. And I was like, I need you to just look at her jaw. Just look at her jaw, make sure there's no tension, because it looked like to you, Jamie, that there was some tension in her lower jaw, and it wasn't in the right position, essentially. And so the chiropractor was like, all right, well, I can check. I'll just take a look. And sure enough, she's like, yeah, wow, there's actually quite a bit of tension in both sides. And she said it wrapped all the way around her neck into the base of her skull. And so she kind of just did some massaging, and I mean, it wasn't really much. She kind of just massaged it out, and she hit certain spots where she screamed. She was not happy about it, but she knew it was working on something.
Yeah, sometimes that's so hard because it's like, is this a ouch, it hurts, or is it a release? And I have a bodywork episode of the podcast where we talk to a craniosacral therapist where she talks about that, how sometimes they'll cry and it's more of a release. It's like, it's not that they're in pain. It's that release of, oh my gosh, that's better.
After that initial release, then she was totally fine and we were good. We walked out of there, and at first I couldn't tell if it helped or not. I wasn't 100% sure. At that point, I think I got because I had to order the nipple shields, of course. On the island we live in, they had no bottles and none of the nipple shields that you recommended. So we ordered those. Yeah. And actually the bottles, I think my mom, she was coming to the island, and so she brought them over for me. She was able to get them up where she was. So anyway, we had the chiropractor, and then I got the shields. Well, then it took me like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days to incorporate the shields because I was like so stuck on the bottles and not wanting to deviate from pumping and what we kind of gotten comfortable with. And baby was growing and doing great. And finally one day I tried to nurse her just because I kept trying. Just every couple of days, I'd give it a go so that we didn't lose that connection. And I didn't want her to forget how, or that we're not living off of a bottle here. We're still trying to achieve something. We both were so frustrated that I laid her down and I walked away for a minute, and I was like, babe, we have to do something. I need a day of no work because I'm still trying to work through all this. We went back to work within like 7 days of being home from the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Probably not smart. But the next day I took the whole day off and I grabbed those nipple shields. And the first 2 feedings were still a struggle. We still just fought our way through it, but we did it. And there was no bottle. And then on the 3rd feeding with the shields, I was sitting there, and she was in my lap. And all of a sudden I realized she was totally still. There was no movement, and she was just nursing. There was no fighting. There was no legs kicking. There was no arching away. She was just sitting there, calmly feeding. And I started to cry, and I was like, oh my God, we're doing it. And so I called my husband right then. I was like, babe, it's happening. We're doing it. It was great. And then I was super bummed that we'd missed out on the first 10 weeks of that, just that moment.
Yeah, but that's also like 10 weeks. Guys, if you're listening, I have so many moms come to me and their baby's like 4 weeks old, and the doctor's like, well, if you haven't figured it out by now, it's not going to happen. 10 weeks.
Yeah.
10 weeks, and you finally got it to start working. Was it totally perfect? Yep. Maybe not, but it was perfect enough for you. We got that positivity. We got that hope, that joy, that connection. So then I know. I remember you messaging me and telling me that, and then you were like, "All right, so I'm totally happy with this. I'm not even going to worry about trying to wean off the shield. And
Yep.
are there any risks with staying on the shield?" And I was like, "Well, there's some, but if this is what you want to do, like we can figure out how to make it work, right? Like we'll
Yeah.
make it
Oh,
work."
I did not want to wean off. I was like,
Yeah,
we've got it.
you're like, "We've got it. We're just going to stick with the shield. We're not even going to have that fight." And then
Yeah.
I got an email saying that you were not using the shield at all, and everything was perfect. So what happened?
Yeah. Well, I don't really know what happened. It's just we continued using the shield, which they are a pain in the butt. I will admit, you don't want to use them in a restaurant. You don't want to use them out in public because it's it's messy. They leak.
Frustrating.
Yeah, getting them on is kind of a pain, but once she's on, then it's all good. So yeah, I didn't take her out to restaurants. I made sure that we always had a bottle for going out anywhere. I know it was several weeks later because I think that happened at 10 weeks, and it wasn't until like 14 weeks, I think, 12 weeks. I don't know. There was a couple of weeks on the shield, and then I was at work with her because since we own our own store, we just take her to work every day, and she's got her a nursery and everything's all set up there so she can take her naps and feed, and people come to visit and hold her in a rocking chair. So I went to feed her, and the nipple shields, I don't remember if I'd forgotten to bring them or hadn't cleaned them, something, they weren't readily accessible. And I was like, well, we're just gonna have to deal without it because she's hungry now. And I put her on, and it didn't click with me on that feeding. We just kind of fed through. She was fast though. And that I was like, wow, you're done already. Okay. And then we continued on. And then later, that couple hours later, she was hungry again. And I was like, huh, we did it without the shields. I'm fine. We'll try it again. So we did it. And that's when I realized, like, oh my God, she's eating. There's no pain. She's calm. Everything's still. And she ate like super fast. With the shield, it would take an hour, hour and a half for her to eat. It was forever.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, like long. It was
But you know,
feedings
between
took
all
forever.
of the oral exercises you were doing, it might have just been that like the rigidity of the shield gave her a little more like tension.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of resistance. Resistance is the word I'm looking for. Like a little more resistance, and so it's not great to hear that it took her that long on the shield. But then you removed the shield, and she did so well. Like she was probably just strengthening and putting all that work was coming
Yeah,
together, and she was building that muscle memory.
that makes sense. It does.
Yeah.
And then that was it. We never touched the shields again. We were done with them, and she eats just fine. And oh my God, it's so fast now. It's like 15, 20 minutes. We're done. We're out. She's on to the next thing.
And she's happy and you're
Yep.
happy. Oh my gosh. Your smile right now is just so electric. And it's just, I'm so happy just watching you, hearing you. Like, it brings me so much joy. And I think it's important too to know that, like, this is a process. When latching is
Yeah.
not working, there is no magic fix. Like, I have my guides, I have my courses, and they are so good for those simple little, like, you were given really bad advice in the hospital, and now this is what you actually have to do. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's not the magic fix because no mom and baby are exactly the same. And sometimes we just need to find, like, what is that missing piece?
Yeah.
And in your situation, you know, I think the body work was a huge part. Like we finally get some alignment. Now she can learn, right? So
Yeah.
before, if her body was not, for lack of a better word, aligned properly, then
Mm-hmm.
we can do all the things, but she's going to have a limited capacity to learn those things, right? And then we
Right.
get that alignment. We open up her capacity to learn, and then we have to take the time to make it happen. And I think so many moms get like, well, like kind of like you said, like, I don't know if this chiropractor visit did anything. Like, did this help? It's not magically better. Like these exercises are not magically better. And it's like, I really hate telling people like, oh, just give it time, because I think a lot of people say give it time from an aspect of give it time and don't do anything. But sometimes we have to give it time while we're doing something. And that's a very different approach, but it's one that it's not an option that most people are given. Most people are told, like, tough it out or quit. There's no in between.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No,
I'm so happy to hear your story.
I'm so happy that we persisted and made it through because it's amazing now. I love it. I absolutely
Yeah.
love sitting down and feeding her. It makes me so happy.
So let me ask you, what was your why? What was the why that like gave you, for lack of a better word, the stubbornness to persist through? Because some people would not have just kept pushing and just kept searching. They would have been at some point, probably when you started the pumping routine, been like, you know what, this is working. I'm done. Like, no, you were like, no, we're going to figure this out. What was it that drove that for you?
A couple things. One, which my husband pointed out this morning because we were talking about this, is I'm very stubborn. I am just naturally a very stubborn person, and it infuriates me when I can't learn something or figure it out to completion. And it just drove me nuts that her and I could not make this happen. And we tried so many things. And then, second, the pumping is brutal. It is so much work. And with a full-time job, and I was trying to feed her and then pump and then get back to customers just to turn around and wash everything really quick and feed her and pump again. And it was a brutal cycle. And you're trying to do it all night long. It's not fun. Like, to the moms who can exclusively pump the entire 6, 9, 12, 18 months that they do it, I'm amazed because it
Yes,
is a lot of work.
I
And
completely agree. I always say like, because I'm like you, I'm stubborn. So with my first, it was like awful, but I was like same way. Like I have no other choice just because that's
yeah,
my nature, right? Like we have to figure it out because
yeah,
the other option is we're just both gonna die. Like that's it. Like those are the two options.
exactly,
That sounds dramatic, but
exactly.
that's how I'm built. And then I like nobody ever told me about the option of exclusive pumping, and I never like had put that together as a new mom. Like I never figured that one out on my own.
Yeah.
And so, well, he also couldn't take a bottle, so that was a whole other issue. So that's probably why that never
I
crossed
was
my
gonna say
mind.
that doesn't
It
help.
was, yeah, no, it didn't help at all. That's probably why that never crossed my mind. But then once I realized that there are people who exclusively pump for, like you said, for 6, 12 months, I was
Yeah.
like, how? Like I could never,
Wow.
as stubborn as I am, I couldn't have
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah.
That is amazing to me.
Yeah. And me too. It's brutal, especially when the clogged duct started, and that's just as bad as the nursing pain. Like, they're painful, and your
Yeah,
breast is swollen and red. Any touching, it's terrible.
yeah. No, I'm
Like,
so glad you brought that up because I realized I have not done an episode just on clogged ducts. So I'm just saying that.
you should, because man, that is brutal. And I don't know what the trick is to getting them to release, because I
Yeah.
tried so many things,
So a lot of
including
times,
water.
yeah, not to like go off on a total tangent, but a lot of times it's like an inflammation issue. So
Oh.
it's kind of like almost if you imagine like a hose and then
Hmm.
the clog, it is not so much something in the middle of the hose stopping it, it's the hose being kinked or compressed that causes the
Oh.
pressure and swelling behind. So sometimes that's just, we skipped a pump and now we have so much milk that the duct is getting pressure from another duct. And there's so many different
Clogged it up.
things. So yeah,
That's interesting.
it's more nuanced than that, obviously, but it is one of those things that's like one of those things people don't tell you
Mm-mm.
until
Nope.
it's too late.
Yeah. Had no idea.
Yeah,
So yeah.
well,
So the pumping, that's being able to continue that on for month after month. I did not consider that an option. Like, I briefly thought about it in the beginning of pumping because it was great and everything was working. And then as the duct started, and she still wasn't eating very well in a bottle. She was still super gassy. I mean, burp like a grown man. It was terrible. And throwing up, she'd throw up tons. And so I
oh my
knew that
goodness.
the bottle still wasn't, it wasn't optimal. It wasn't the best thing for her. It was
Yeah.
working. She was thriving, but it still wasn't the best thing.
Yeah. And I think that's important for people to hear too is like just because you've got the option of a bottle with formula or pumped milk doesn't mean it always works.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
always work. That's it. Like for me, it didn't work at all. For you, it like worked, but not really. Like
Yeah.
it was like,
She was still uncomfortable from all
this
the,
should be better.
yeah.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think it's so sad that we see these uncomfortable babies and just kind of society treats it as a norm. Like, oh, babies are just uncomfortable and whine. Like, yeah, babies are fussy creatures to an extent, but
Yeah.
when we normalize this, like this discomfort for them, and it that's just sad to me. It
Yeah.
makes me sad.
Yeah. Or in my case, there was everybody that I was around. I'm just a very prideful person, in addition to being stubborn. And so I didn't want people to know that I was exclusively pumping because all the moms around me, they're all feeding, no big deal. Like, I don't know what you're struggling with because this worked for me and this worked. And, maybe try this because it worked for me. And like, well, nothing is working. I tried
Yeah,
all
that's
of those.
really hard.
And so I just tried to hide it. And so when anybody was around, I would either just grit through it and we'd try to breastfeed, so it still looked like we were breastfeeding, or I'd go get a bottle and here, why don't you feed her? you know, make it kind of
Yeah.
something fun they could do with her, so they didn't know that I was exclusively pumping. And
Wow. So for you, it wasn't even the issue of like, I'm not around people breastfeeding. There's no support. It's almost like I'm around so many people breastfeeding, but their version of support is this should be easy.
yeah,
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 I feel like that's very unique. I don't hear that a lot, but that is such an interesting perspective too. Like it's on the other side of things where we're not normalizing that discomfort. And so I thank you so much for bringing your story out for other moms to hear, because I'm sure those other moms that were acting like it was so perfect and easy, I'm sure they did really struggle at some point, but they didn't
yeah,
want people to know either. So they just kind of hide that. And I think we do that a lot as a society, is like, in an effort to make breastfeeding more normalized, we almost completely romanticize it and go too far.
yeah. In a way, yeah. Because I talked to a lot of different moms. All the moms who came to my baby shower and everybody who came to see baby. There's been a lot of people, a lot of people coming by, and they all just had these great stories about how everything went so well and they never had issues with this or that or the other. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm over here struggling, but I don't want you to know, so we're just gonna hide this.
Yeah, that's so frustrating. But I'm so glad that you stuck it out and persevered and didn't just try and keep figuring it out yourself. You finally realized, like, hey, I need somebody to walk with me through that. And
Yeah.
so, like you said, you are in Alaska. So, real quick before we wrap up, I just want to talk about that. You're in Alaska, I'm in Texas. That
Yeah,
means that we work together virtually. What
we
was that
did.
like for you? Like, did you have reservations about that? Were you like, how can she do this? Or were you just like, I don't care, I need somebody to help? What was kind of your thought process on that?
Honestly, ever since the pandemic, we do so much stuff virtually anymore that it didn't even cross my mind. I was like, this is just somebody who's going to be able to take a look and walk with me through this. And I don't know, if I tell my story, then she can, pinpoint, okay, this and this isn't working. Let's fix those.
Yeah, and that's pretty much
And
what we did. But there was like some examination stuff. So I walked you through that. And did you feel
yeah,
like that gave you a deeper understanding of what was going on?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because you had me take videos of her bottle feeding, videos of her mouth, which was challenging,
It was
but we tried.
challenging.
And I think we tried breastfeeding on the call. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we did some reflex stuff together too,
Mhm.
virtually. Like I walked you through how to look at her reflexes and kind of what that means, like what the responses mean. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like we can do a lot virtually. I think a lot of people are kind of like, how the heck can you get this baby to latch? But
Yeah.
it's not my job to get the baby to latch. It's your job, right?
Yeah. And I think it actually worked out really well because she was in her own home and we were pretty relaxed, comfortable, just sitting on our own couch. I didn't have to go into a sterile office because that's where the lactation consultants out here in our town are. They're in the hospital.
Yeah.
And so you got to go into one of their offices to see one of them. And I also didn't want to take my newborn back to the hospital and put her around any germs.
Yeah,
We've
for
managed
sure.
almost 4 months with no sickness at all, and so I'd
That's
like to keep
great.
it that way.
Yeah, no, I totally like that is such an important thing. There's so much we can do from the comfort of our own home.
Yeah.
There's so much we can do. So I just appreciate you so much sharing this story. If there are moms out there listening and they like hear you and they're like, wow, that sounds a lot like me, what is the one piece of advice you want them to take away from your story?
One, to don't lose hope. Just keep trying, keep with it. Find little workarounds to help you get through. If there's pain or discomfort, there's tricks and things. Eventually, they can be figured out to help you get through because your baby is worth it.
Your
And
baby is worth it. I love that.
yeah, that was like a big thing that got me through was just remembering that she is worth it's so important. And I really didn't want her to be on formula. I wanted her to be on breast milk because it is the most nutritious, like perfect formula just for her that's going to keep her healthy. It's going to keep her from getting sick. There's so many benefits to it. And there, yeah, just don't lose hope.
Don't lose hope. I love it. Don't lose hope, and your baby is worth it. Well, thank you so much, Kaylyn, for coming on here and sharing your story and being so vulnerable with us and giving moms a reason to keep that hope.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time with me.
Absolutely. You have a great rest of your day, Kaylyn.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.